Well, it all started, I came back from Spain. I'd been living over in Spain in the Basque Country for about 9 or 10 years, and I came back to the UK for personal reasons at the tail end of 2012. Got myself a job, started working, but I found that there was something missing in my life. I hadn't got any hobby or anything like that, so bought myself a camera in 2014, I think it was, Christmas 2014. From where I was working, with discount, etc. It cost me £100, but it was a good camera. 6 months later, I couldn't get on with it, and I was feeling pretty disappointed and disheartened, if you like, so decided to sell it. Went into one of the second-hand stores in town, in Stafford, and sold it for what I paid. As I walked out, I saw the camera that I use now, and for some reason, I went back in and bought it, and I don't know why to this day. And from there is where things have started escalating. It's just using that camera, and it's incredible that it was a spur-of-the-moment decision to buy that camera when I'd already just sold one. I don't know what drove me to do it, but here I am at the moment.
So maybe destiny pulled you in that direction, Neil?
It's highly possible. It's very possible indeed.
I know serious photographers use serious equipment, but how does the camera that you use compare to the sort of pictures that you can get on a good quality smartphone?
Well, they're still going to be better, because the difference between a digital camera these days and the smartphones is the sensor that's inside them. The cameras have specially built and specially designed sensors that are far more powerful for converting the image information that you see on the screen into a picture that you can then print out. A smartphone they are good, don't get me wrong, but you're still not going to get quite the same quality.
Now, you're a local lad, Neil. You live just off the Lichfield Road here in Stafford, and I know you've been out this morning taking some pictures. Yep. Where have you been?
It's my usual spot down Radford Bank along the canal there, from the Radford Inn down towards the Canal Boat Club at the bottom of Wildwood, or off in the other direction down toward as far as Little Haywood. But it's mostly along that stretch. The odd occasion I'm up on the Chase, but it's virtually all round there.
Now, I want to ask you about the exhibition that you've got planned later this year, but it all really started to take off for you, didn't it, back in 2015 when you entered the Mail on Sunday photography competition?
Yeah, it was a combination of things around that time. What had happened was I got the camera that I'm using now in June 2015 and started taking shots along Radford Bank. Decided to send some of them off to the Staff's Wildlife Trust to a guy called John Owen there, who liked what he saw and has been using them on the Trust's website ever since. From there, one of the shots that I found was actually very, very different compared to other things that I'd seen. It was for 3 fallow buck standing in a field looking at me. Sent that shot into the Mail on Sunday's national competition in September 2015. Didn't expect to win, didn't hear anything. Came to January 2016, got an email from the editor of the magazine there, and she said, whilst you're not one of the half a dozen winners, you're actually one of maybe half a dozen highly commended that we would still like to publish the photo, and it's still on their international website today. But off that, I then had, from the photos that were seen in the Staff's Wildlife Trust, the Express and Star got in contact in January 2016 and asked if they could use one of my shots on the front page, so I said yes. From there, they've used me probably about 15 or 16 times in the last 18 months or so. Off that, what happened next? There was the Museum of Cannock Chase, the director there, Lee, she got in contact and asked if I would be interested in holding an exhibition. Now, this was in April 2016, she asked me, and the exhibition isn't until October the 23rd to December the 15th this year. So it's one of these where everything's been bowling along, and on top of that I've printed a few prints, I've done a couple of canvases for people of my work. I sold 42 calendars after I was badgered into making one in 2015. 2016 I sold 50 and demand outstripped supply. So I've got to get another calendar together this year, and I've also designed a range of greetings cards that are slightly different as well to go along with it. So it's still a hobby, but I'm not going to deny that making a little bit of money on the side isn't unattractive, but that's not the be all and end all for me.
And it's your photographs that are going to be on next year's Staffordshire Wildlife Trust calendar, I believe then?
That's right, there's one of them. There's 12 pages, 12 different winners. I entered a photograph which was selected and will be one of the featured ones in the calendar next year, yes.
Look forward to seeing that, Neil. Tell us about the sort of pictures and the sort of locations that really excite you. You've mentioned the the canal, the Staffs and Worcester Canal. You've been down there this morning and taken some photographs. What sort of locations in Staffordshire really excite you and where you get out first thing in the morning to take your pictures?
Places like that and places like the Chase, because there's a huge amount of landscape out there that most people don't appreciate. That's what I'm trying to show is what there is around us. I mean, you can even sit in Victoria Park in the town, and if you sit there for 5, 10, 15 minutes and start looking around you, just soak in the surroundings that there are, you'd be surprised what you see. I'm seeing insects and birds that have always been around, but I've never really paid much attention to them. That's the kind of thing that I'm trying to get across in the photography. It's not about taking the perfect shot with the perfect bird in the perfect light. It's about showing nature as it is, what there is, and how it's interacting with its surroundings. And that to me is far and above the most interesting part of everything that I do.
You must be very excited about the exhibition later this year. What sort of work will be on display?
Going to be an interesting selection of shots, shall we say. I've got to get between 50 to 60. It's probably going to be 50 shots that will be mounted at the exhibition. It'll be a combination of everything from close-ups of insects to birds playing around together to anything in between, basically.
Where is the exhibition taking place, Neil?
It's at the Museum of Cannock Chase, just outside of Hensford, and it's going to be October the 23rd to December the 15th. It is free to go in, so you don't have to worry about paying anything.
Okay, if we can't wait that long to see your work, where can we find some of your work online?
Right, at the moment I've got a Facebook page dedicated to it. It's called Argazki Mac, Argazki, and then Mac, M-A-C. That comes from the Basque word Argazki, where I lived in the Basque Country. It's a Basque word meaning photography or photos, so it's Mac's Photos essentially. Hopefully at the end of this month I will have a website up and running as well under the same name.
Okay, so we can find you on Facebook. Any other contact details, Neil?
Be the same. I'd like for email, it's argazkimac@gmail.com, and other than that, you can just message me through Facebook.
Anything else you'd like to mention?
Just basically that my photography is not about the money side, it's getting people to see what's out there, and the most satisfying thing for me is when I've had people commenting that they've since slowed down their walks and begun to appreciate more what there is around there, and it's making sure that people will pass that on to their children, because without what we've got around us in 50 or 60 years' time, there's going to be nothing.